Hi, ladies. Guys, thank you so much for coming today. You all look so beautiful. There's so much we have to talk about today. The standards of beauty are often not for us or by us. And so now we're having these conversations so we can define beauty for ourselves. Y'all ready? All right, ladies, it's time for Black Girl Beauty.
I love Black women so much. I pretend to be one.
Everyone's wig can be snatched.
Y'all know I can't live without a good contour, honey. How did you all find your ways into drag? Tell me a little bit about your journey, your personal journeys.
Well, mine is really connected to Peppermint. I was just dancing, getting my life in a club as a 21-year-old little gay.
Yes.
And Peppermint came up to me and was like, hey, you want to dance backup for me? Oh. And I was just like, yeah. She's like, I got a show at Lincoln Center. And I was like, what? Absolutely. And that went on a 4-year span of me traveling the world as Peppermint's backup dancer.
Wow.
I was like a backup boy for her.
Yeah.
And we were going on a trip to London, and I wanted some extra coins to spend in London. Mm-hmm. So I was like, maybe I'll do a little drag show of my own. And Honey Davenport and Gia Davenport helped me put together a big drag show.
And what year was this when you decided to do your own drag?
12?
2012, yeah. Yeah, because it's been about 11 years.
Wow.
But I started doing drag. I started inching into mama's makeup, on the road. We'd be in Berlin and I'd be like, she's done with that lip gloss. I can put a little bit. Oh, this started well on the road. I was like, how do you wash your wig again? How do you do that? Yeah. I was taking notes, girl, the whole way.
I love it. And so you kind of were able to follow Peppermint.
Yeah, it was truly life-changing because I already had such a beautiful icon who's already had a really big presence on the scene.
Yes.
And I had the help of the Davenports as well. So having both of those combinations just,
Yes, and here you are today.
Here she is today.
Slay. And tell me a little bit about your journey into drag because you've been on the scene forever, for what it seems like.
Since she was
at least the year 1908.
Okay, that was a good year. I remember that. I remember that year.
Mine is not really that all that dissimilar to Honey's story. I moved to New York to be a performer. I went to college, and I started doing drag in high school. Drag really can allow people to tap into kind of a pent-up energy that they've always wanted to express with gender, with sexuality, with race, with anything, with culture, society, politics, all of them. And then just like Honey says, once you get the drag bug,
that's it.
You are going. And so I moved to New York and started working in the clubs.
Okay.
In 1998 was when I had my own show for the first time. And then, so that's 21 years.
Wow. Well, a legend. A whole legend.
The definition of a legend.
Literally.
Right.
But that is so awesome. And so, obviously, your drag careers have taken you places, Honey and Peppermint, that you probably never thought would ever happen. Especially in the drag space, I think the culture has moved. I think the fact that there's a logo, the RuPaul's Drag Race, there's so many places now that we can look to see drag queens being represented, and I think represented correctly.
The same thing has happened, I think, to drag culture that has happened to every other industry this time. With the music industry, with the art, with the modeling industry, once it gets run through the reality show mill, then it's very mainstream. Things, all of a sudden there's a certain economy that happens that wasn't always associated, and that can be a very good thing. When anything becomes mainstream, it really, people say it gets boiled down to what some would say the lowest common denominator, so that everyone can understand it, so that it's accessible to everyone.
For me, I wanted to know what have been the biggest moments for you seeing how reality shows in mainstream almost took drag to a different level of just notoriety? How has it helped and hurt the community internally, things that we might not know about?
You know, especially before I was on Drag Race, I used to harbor this feeling that possibly us being so mainstream could hurt. I obviously don't feel that way now because my bank account looks nice.
Well,
cheers to that.
Okay.
But I honestly think that every time something big and mainstream comes out, it just filters through to everybody getting more opportunities. Like when Drag Race is on, that producer who's thinking of a new commercial is like, oh, maybe I should put drag queens in this. And all of us get more opportunities.
Most of us. It's good it gives us each individual, especially as queer individuals, the ability to kind of have some empowerment and some economic empowerment and use our platform the way that we want. Because on the flip side of that, when I was working I worked in makeup as a makeup artist, and before that I worked at a bank because that's what they have in Delaware where I'm from is banks. And I worked at a bank, and I got fired from 3 banks because I had the same hairstyle that I'm wearing today. Curly red, because Janet Jackson Velvet Rope.
Yes, that's what you're giving me. Yes, between Janet and Shaka, I'm getting all of it, honey.
And they were not feeling that with the long nails and the hair. They were just not feeling it, and I got fired from place after place. And then eventually I went to go work in a makeup company, MAC Cosmetics, and they were very welcoming. But doing drag and being able to be this, self-empowered trans woman who works in drag and is, has the opportunity to use her platform to speak out on all types of things that are important to her, it feels really good to do, and so I have drag to thank for that.
Right.
And it was truly inspirational.
Ru is a literal empire.
Absolutely.
From the makeup, to the songs, to the shows, to the production companies. Everything that RuPaul touches is gold. And that's happened since 1994, when she was the first Viva Glam, RuPaul was the first Viva Glam drag queen in 1994. And I remember seeing her and being inspired, but also feeling like, I don't even look that good. Like, this is really annoying. Every time I watch RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm like, what is that? How can I look like that good?
Nobody looks that good. On episode 1 of my season, I came around the runway, and I'm so happy that this is not on the episode, but I came around the runway and I had this big old flower in my hair, and I turned around and I saw her, and I was like that's how pretty you are in person. Like it was a gag. Nobody looks that good.
Exactly.
The same since 1994.
Right. And I was gonna say, as someone who's been in the space for 20 years now, what was it like to see Ru get the first Viva Glam contract in '94? What did that do for you and the dreams that you had for yourself?
It was fantastic. I was actually not sure. In 1994, I was in high school. I saw the campaign, and I wasn't even sure, because MAC was also kind of new at that time, too.
Right.
When Supermodel came out, I didn't know how Ru, I guess by today's language, you would say identify. I just thought this was some woman. I didn't know that it was a queen. I didn't know who they were. And so then when I saw Ru on the MAC campaign, I wasn't even sure if Ru was like finally having a chance to step up and do a major campaign, or if the campaign was hitching its start as someone who was so powerful and the way we needed to go.
Right.
It was probably a little bit of both,
Right.
Right.
And then I knew that Ru was like an empire and a brand and a household name, because then there were more campaigns.
Right.
There was an eyeglass campaign. I remember there was a liquor campaign that Ru was in, and I was like, good grief.
Ru is so powerful and so great, and that leads us to the beauty industry, makeup, and the things that drag queens literally affected for the beauty industry altogether. And so as drag became more mainstream and more popular, we saw bolder eye looks, like the eye look that Honey is rocking today.
Oh, yeah, she got all of that.
Okay, the better brows, the bigger lashes, the bolder lips. And so as someone who is in it every day, what are the biggest things that you've seen the beauty industry change to kind of keep up with everything that drag queens have been able to bring to the forefront?
It's been really cyclical, and it's hard, again, just like MAC and Ru, it's hard to know where things come from, especially as a queen of color. Because there's so many things that were introduced into drag beauty and makeup that were coming from like my mama's house.
Right.
Even seeing like products put out that are now mass marketed so that that beauty influencers are able to use has been really interesting. Like, you know, I used to take a makeup sponge, and there was a very specific texture of makeup sponge that I would use, and I would wet it, and I would use it, and it would expand, and it would help me with my makeup. Now it's a beauty blender.
Yes.
But I think the biggest thing that has kind of stayed its course and been like, after seeing it, is the concept of contouring and highlighting.
Yes.
And it's just like, you know, how that stood the test of time. And it's obviously in drag makeup. And it's gone in and out of like conventional beauty makeup, but it is, it's here to stay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what I would do without a contour.
Hello?
Do you agree with everything Peppermint said?
I definitely see that drag influences beauty makeup, as well as, like, I don't really watch drag makeup tutorials anymore. I watch like beautiful black women like stamping their mugs back, and I'm like, I want to do that to my face, you know?
Yes.
And they wear just as much.
Especially
it's
now.
drag makeup.
Yes,
it's drag makeup.
Yeah. We've definitely gone to a place where instead of, you know, mascara, liner, and even in the 90s, I remember watching like Tyra Banks and all these girls, and they would just wear a little makeup. It wasn't too much, especially even in like the videos, all the girls had very natural hair, maybe had one track in the back to give you a little effect.
Yeah.
But it was very chill.
It was
and
very
now
chill.
the videos of today, you got a lace front,
bundles, frontals, sew-ins.
My mom used to
tape. I've seen.
You see girls
I've
tape?
seen girls tape
through the on the videos
in beauty using tape to lift, which is
It's
drag
great.
queens
Yeah.
do. Not everyone, but you know, I'm like, well, that is industrial.
Right, that's real.
And there are certain sayings that I think really come from drag, like beat to the gods and all those different things like that. But what sayings and things do you really believe came from drag that have kind of permeated, that you feel like you all don't get the credit? Drag queens don't get the credit.
Being a black woman and a queen,
Right.
I just to kind of go back to what I said before, there's so many moments that were coming through, you know, from like just like vernacular with my friends that I grew up with and my family members and my aunts were saying, like, this finger wag was something that my, you know, mom and grandmother would be like, like that was like, and the first time I saw that was like in clubs. First time I saw it like that, it wasn't my mom doing it, was in some club in the Tunnel nightclub. And I was like, oh, the queens are doing it too. And so that was really interesting. And then like, oh, the black queens are doing it, so that the black queens are doing it, the white queens are gonna do it, now the white queens do it, now the white girls are doing it. Right. And it just kind of, that's kind of the pathway. So it goes from the black women to the black queens to the white queens to the white girls. That's usually like, whatever we're talking about, that's the pathway.
And somehow we think that these things are created by drag queens or even black drag queens. No, these are just things from black women, from our families, you know.
I'd say most of I mean, we have to talk about, I guess we could go down the line, but I think for the most part, like a lot of the lingo, a lot of the sayings, a lot of the just like attitudes are coming from black women.
Absolutely. And we were talking about that.
Not to cut you off, but I think one thing that's really important, and there's always been a separation in this type of conversation, is that black women or drag queens.
Right.
We're not necessarily in those conversations, in that context, acknowledging that there's black queer women who are connected to the community, and they may have brought that in.
Right.
And so like it doesn't always have to be a disconnect between the queer community or gay and black. Like those are oftentimes one and the same.
Right.
And I think that's something that just conversationally people, not necessarily here, but just in general, people often, that's a trap that people fall into. Is they're like, is it the black community or is it the gay or queer community?
All the above.
Like they're not this, like they're mutually exclusive.
Absolutely right.
Well, I do feel like the queer community occasionally like excludes the African American community a lot. So like, I'm not surprised that happens.
Well, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, if you look at it down to how we're represented it in our nightclubs and in our advertisements, like, to be gay, the poster child of being gay is a white boy with muscles. Like that's where all of this starts from. So like, the queer community often disassociates itself with the black community, and it's even harder to be black and queer because then you don't even have the black community to go back to. So, and we're like running around wondering where these things came from, and like there's a whole group of people who are like us.
One of the things that ends up happening is that I think that the queer community dissociates in sometimes, but I think historically the queer community often reflects the rest of America.
Right.
And so the queer community also tokenizes the black community.
Absolutely.
And so that's where we have this gorgeous, very talented white queen going like, no, she didn't. And it's like, girl, who taught you that?
Right.
And so like
Right.
there's that, and some people call that appreciation or other things, and so that's kind of where I think these are where we start to peel that off. That's where we start to see some of these things being taken, but there is a disassociation because you want to get like this and get like that, which is not all of us,
right?
But that's what you're doing. So you're tokenizing us, and you also don't want to put that fine brother or that fierce black queen on the cover of your advertisement or magazine or thing.
I would say it was appreciation if you were also appreciating us, if you were using us to represent that that's where it came from. If you just take it, then it's not appreciation.
Exactly. And that's the literal theme that we've been talking through all these different episodes and all these different girls who we talked about beauty and every type of problem within the industry, beauty industry, is that the credit is missing. And I think that's one of the great equalizers of our experience. Like as black women, as drag queens, as black queer women, we all understand what it's like to have something taken from us and then being like, girl, I made her bonnets. I've seen a few drag queens get great beauty deals, but I want to know, do you feel like there's enough representation? And I'm sure there's not, but where can we move the needle in getting more drag queens to be represented correctly in the media? What would you want to see from beauty brands in order to get the representation of black drag queens correct?
Well, I think it's something that's just not. It's not only just in the beauty community, but it's within all communities. Like we're not really marketing things towards people of color.
Right.
So now that there are new beauty brands that are being marketed towards people of color, they need to reach back and realize that like, hey, these people created Beat and Snatched, and maybe we want to put their faces on these products, kind of like we did with RuPaul in 1994.
But having a queen, even RuPaul, on the cover of whatever for a MAC campaign, maybe addressed the kind of the boldness and choice and the risk that people can take with makeup and color choices in terms of eyeshadow and the fierceness to be kind of who you are, which is great. But those moments, even then, even with queens, it didn't really speak to queerness. It really did tokenize queens in a way that it's not so much now. It was just like, oh, that's a drag queen, great, fun, that's it.
Right.
It really didn't speak to who they were or what they brought. These days, there are some queens who have major beauty campaigns, and their personality is really ingrained into
everything
what they're trying to push and sell. It is interesting that specifically beauty campaigns or beauty ads are reaching towards only some queens, most of which are not queens of color.
I would say
I think it's unfortunate.
None. I don't know if
I did one, but it wasn't
Okay.
mainstream. It was kind of a video,
Right.
And I think that's definitely a missed opportunity.
There's so many sides to this conversation, which is why I love that we're trying to at least get to the tip of the iceberg of what all of these different issues within just one conversation. But I love it. So thank you guys for being so honest and truthful here. I love the relationship that makeup has, the effect that makeup has on all of us, and just almost becoming this I would say Sasha Fierce version of ourselves. How has your relationship helped you grow in loving yourself, even taking off some of the layers, even after that process, loving yourself as well? So how has makeup affected your self-love?
Well, I know for me, when I'm done, when I start really feeling myself.
You like the music?
I'm in the mirror I'm like, oh my gosh. I'll talk to somebody. And I'm like, have you ever noticed how much I look like a woman right now?
Yes!
I'm muscles. I think there was estrogen in its makeup brush. I don't even know. Like, literally. So, I mean, there's definitely a confidence that, like, comes with makeup. You know, like, we're able, you know, as, like, professionals in this game to create whatever kind of illusion we want to with some powders and some creams.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like people who say I don't wear makeup, I'm like, why?
What's wrong?
What's wrong with no? Go out natural. No, paint on a natural face. There you go. Can you put on a lot and make it look like you have on nothing? That's beautiful to me.
I love that. That's awesome.
For me, I mean, it's probably pretty similar. I think my kind of relationship to makeup has always been really kind of love-hate. Because I, you know, use so much of it and then now feel like I depend on it, you know? When I was growing up, the queens, I guess the style of for everyone was just much more pared down, like you said.
Yes.
It was much more, there wasn't like this going on and people, no one was trying to do that. And even the queens were just trying to look like supermodels.
Right.
And so I just wanted to look like a believable woman because that's who I am.
Right.
And people would be like, oh, you know, are you trans and when are you having surgery? And I was like, well, I don't have any money for surgery. So see this brush?
Right.
I'm gonna do what I can with this brush.
Yes.
And I had to learn both a nightlife beat, but then also a daytime beat that would make me feel confident enough as a woman where I wouldn't get accused of being a drag queen and pushed out of women's spaces, but then also allowed to hold my own with the queen so that I could get paid at night and not told, oh, you're just a woman, you don't belong with the queen.
Right.
And so there was like a lot going on there, a lot of balancing, and still happens.
And you were always like super phenomenal with a makeup brush. Like before you had titties, like you had the best titties in the game. Like her titties were incredible. Like before she had anything, like this, like
made
she's like, I have this brush. Huh, look at these titties. Like, what the hell? Before anybody was contouring titties, Peppermint was on it.
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah, that was the way I was gonna do it. And so makeup has really helped me be confident as a queen. And I think makeup when used with drag does that for everyone.
Yes,
It really allows you to kind of express what you want, but it also is kind of a type of protection. It's the necessary shield and protection that you need to go out and do and say the things that other people don't have the courage to say and do as a drag performer. And so then I brought that also into my womanhood every day. And so makeup is, you know, I don't go without a highlighter or a nice little
And
anything.
For me, even if I'm out of drag, I have on like 90,000 like creams and serums and pigmented this. Like I'm always pretty much in drag.
I really wish we had like 2 hours because I want to unpack so much.
Right.
But I wanted to thank Honey and Peppermint for joining us on Black Girl Beauty. You guys just seen a beautiful new episode, so stay tuned for more to VH1's YouTube channel. And we'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Gia Peppers, and thank you for watching VH1's Black Girl Beauty. To see more, make sure you're subscribed to VH1's YouTube channel so you never miss another episode.